I want to update Virginians on the Delta variant and the ways that we are responding as a Commonwealth, especially a few next steps that we are taking to expand vaccinations. I just want you to know that we have worked throughout this pandemic to keep people safe. As I think most of you know, I'm also a doctor, along with some other folks standing up here with me. Over my years as practicing, I have had the opportunity to have to intubate individuals and put them on breathing machines. That requires placing what we call an endotracheal tube down through the mouth between the vocal cords into the trachea. It's a little bit smaller than a garden hose. Requires putting people on a ventilator. I have watched individuals fight for every breath, and I have also watched individuals take their last breath. And so I want you to know that as your governor, I will do everything that I can to keep you from that scenario. Just earlier this week, we had a webinar with Dr. Anthony Fauci to talk with healthcare providers about getting the vaccine into more arms. Our efforts have paid off. When we last spoke in early May, things were looking very good, and they still are overall. This summer, our case counts have dropped to the lowest we have seen since October of 2020. And we have been seeing drops in hospitalizations, deaths, and in our percent positivity. We've had overall a very good summer. At one point, we had fewer than 100 cases a day. We reached President Biden's goal of getting 70% of adults with at least their first shot, and we did it 2 weeks early in mid-June. The end of this virus, it seemed to be within reach, and the vaccines are still working. I want Virginians to understand that, because vaccines are key to everything we're going to talk about today. But unfortunately, we are now on a different trajectory. The arrival of the Delta variant, combined with the number of people who are not vaccinated, is driving our case counts back up. A large majority of people getting infected now are unvaccinated. They haven't gotten their shot. That's happening all across the country. Fortunately, Virginia is doing better than most other states. So let's look at the data here in Virginia. First, this slide shows you that our case counts have been going back up over the past couple of weeks. Fortunately, when you step back, you can see that we are nowhere near the number of cases that we saw last winter. And I am confident we will not go back to that point. But cases are rising again, and so are hospitalizations. This is playing out across the country, and it is because the Delta variant is significantly more contagious than previous strains. We all need to understand that Delta is different than the COVID strain that we were dealing with earlier this year. It's much more contagious, and it comes with a higher viral load that can make people sicker and faster. The only way we can beat this virus is vaccination. And it breaks my heart as your governor and as a doctor to see people getting sick, getting hospitalized, and unfortunately dying of a disease that is now preventable for most people, a disease they could get vaccinated against. Almost 73% of Virginia adults have had at least one dose, and 54% are fully vaccinated. That puts us ahead of many other states, especially in the South. But we want more people fully vaccinated because, again, vaccines work. Let's look at who is getting sick from COVID. Our data show that since January, 99% of COVID cases have been in people who were not fully vaccinated. 98% of hospitalizations and deaths have been people who were not vaccinated. You can see that very clearly on this slide. The gray line is all the new cases we've seen since June the 1st. It's actually very hard to see because it's covered up by the blue line, which is the cases among unvaccinated people. The yellow line, which is way down at the bottom, is the cases among people who were fully vaccinated people. So vaccination works. It is that simple. Even though Delta is more contagious, vaccinated people are still strongly protected against getting so sick that they have to go into the hospital. Nearly every single person who has died from COVID has been unvaccinated. As I said, vaccines are the only way to stop this virus and get back to the normal lives many of us were rediscovering just a few weeks ago. And that's why new actions that I take as governor will be focused on promoting vaccinations.